Bigfoot is a jerk. That's what he is.
Dad, calm down. I'm sure it's a simple misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding? We have been good friends for 20 years. How could he have forgotten us?
20 years is like 2 months in vampire years.
Well, spooks and spookettes, I am Count Drahoon.
And I'm his number one son, Daryl.
Usually around this time of night, we are presenting tales of fun, fright, and phenomena for our podcast, Count Drahoon's feature of Fright.
Instead of doing that, and instead of going someplace a bit more luxurious, we find ourselves in the wilderness of Sri Lanka.
Looking for Bigfoot.
Who is apparently the frontman of the greatest southern rock band of all time?
The greatest underground southern rock band of all time.
He better be as good as you say he is. No offense to the Sri Lankans, but this is nowhere I wanted to spend my vacation. We could have gone to Uncle Bishkek's condo in Belize.
Trust me on this, son. I know this seems like a completely unnecessary trip, but once you hear Bigfoot's immaculate voice and guitar shredding, you will know exactly why I am frustrated as to why Bigfoot just threw away 20 years of friendship.
I don't know that he threw it away. He probably just didn't know you wanted to come.
I have been on the guest list since the 90s. There's no way he could have forgotten. It started. Quick, let's follow the music. We can see about bypassing the security.
If that's code for dodging quicksand, good luck. How did you find out about this?
I met him as he was passing through to his gig. I mistook him for someone else. We got to talking and had a nice rapport, and he invited me to his show.
Who did you mistake Bigfoot for?
I thought he was his cousin, Yeti. Very unsavory character. I heard he still has a drinking problem.
Only you, Dad.
We are getting close. Oh, I haven't been this excited since I went on that one date back in, say, what year was that?
Dad?
Something the matter?
Do you hear what I hear?
All the way out here? It can't be.
It is! The Ghost Mountie!
Oh, Nelly, who goes there, eh?
Ghost Mountie?
Oh, it's that Drahoon fella and his jolly green giant son.
I've been called worse.
What are you doing here? Are you a fan too?
Well, that Bigfoot fella sure can shred a guitar, but that's not why I'm here. I'm running the concert security, eh?
Security?
Yeah, you betcha. Us ghost mounties haven't actually been on the payroll of the Canadian government in quite some time, so we contract our security services to obscure acts.
Ah, what a lucky happenstance. We are just on our way over there.
Are you sure about that, friend? They told me it was sold out, no seat available and what have you.
Oh, well, we are on the guest list.
We're on the guest list?
Daryl?
So why'd you get disinvited for, eh?
We were not disinvited.
We didn't even get invited in the first place.
Daryl, please. This is a very easy fix. I know Bigfoot. We can work it all out and it'll be as if...
I'm afraid any sort of miscommunication is gonna have to be worked out after the show.
No! We have to see the show. This is a father-son rite of passage, like fishing or gambling or the birds and the bees talk.
That'll be a fun episode.
Sorry, friend, those are my orders. Now, I'd be happy to escort you to the proper authorities once this is over, but for now, I'm gonna have to hold you here until we get the all clear.
Daryl,
Yeah?
make a run for it. No! Pick up the pace, son!
Why do you keep doing this to me? I can't run that fast. It's all dead weight.
I don't want to hear it. If we slow down, we're going to be trampled on by the ghost-mounted Canadian police.
Oh, looks like we got some runners. Ghost mounties, up.
Is this how you imagined that we'd die? Being trampled by a squad of ghost mounties in the jungles of Sri Lanka?
Cut me some slack. I didn't pick the topography. Look! Stage lights! We are almost there!
How can you think of a rock concert at a time like this?
Trust me, it's worth the watch. Quick, run towards the front. We'll enjoy this as long as we can.
All right.
Careful, boys. These DJs can start a mosh pit any second. It could get ugly.
Well, you're right, Dad. These guys are awesome.
I told you. Here. We made it. Bigfoot, I'm here. It's me, Drahoon.
There they are, right up front.
Why didn't I get put on the guest list? I thought we were still friends.
Let's grab them, fellas. Okay, headquarters, we're trucking these two jokers along to booking. One of them's a vampire with a cape, and he looks a bit like a raccoon. The other's a jolly green giant. We caught these two trying to sneak into the concert without any tickets.
Dad,
Plus,
even though we're about to be hauled off to Canadian ghost prison for a while, this is actually a lot of fun.
I'm glad you had a good time. I promise when we get out of here, we will go to Belize, to Bishkek's house.
If Belize is still there.
All right, boys, start that caravan up, eh?
Wait a minute. Can you at least play our music on the way out?
Sorry.
Want to help the show grow? Well, you can start by leaving us a review on iTunes. Go to your iTunes account, click on Podcasts, type in Count Drahoon's feature of Fright. Once you hit the main page, go to Ratings and Reviews, and click Write a Review. The more reviews we get, the higher we move up in the iTunes rankings, and the closer we get to world domination. Thank you, Spooks and Spookettes.
I had just approached the car, and out the corner of my eyes, I saw this creature, which was over 6 foot tall with feathers. It just looked like a giant bird, but yet a man. And it was standing with its shoulders and then its neck down like this. I just couldn't imagine what I was seeing and panicked. And when I tried to run, I couldn't.
Hey everyone, this is Mothboy Matt.
This is Mothboy Mike.
And this is Jacob. Definitely not Mothboy Jacob. Never, ever, ever.
And we are Mothboys, a podcast on cryptids, conspiracies, and the unknown.
Unknown.
All right, so today we are actually in the Chestnut Ridge area, which is right outside of Pennsylvania.
We're doing a live episode.
Yeah,
Live.
live.
Deep in the woods of Pennsylvania right now.
And actually, we're just kind of decided to go on vacation and hang out here. But
We've been walking around. We've actually been like hunting for Bigfoot for the last few hours. And
wait. Do you see that over there?
what?
Is that?
Oh, what
No.
What the hell?
No,
You serious?
that's just my ex-girlfriend, dude.
Oh, this your ex?
No,
no,
that's
it's not.
Bigfoot.
Hey,
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Hey, come here, Bigfoot.
Just
Can we get an interview, please? Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yo, so we got Bigfoot here.
Is that a yes?
That's a
I
yes.
think.
I believe that was a yes.
I speak a little Bigfootinese.
Okay, Bigfoot Tenese, yes.
Okay, that's a real language.
All right. Oh, this is on the spot, you guys. We need to think of some questions here. Who's got it? Oh,
Bigfoot. How big are your feet? Really? That's much smaller.
And can you translate that, Matt? What was he saying?
He said they're actually just about like 5.5.
Wow.
Five and a half feet.
What?
Bigfoot. So what do you eat out here in the woods of Pennsylvania?
And translation?
Now I didn't understand that. I
You
think
didn't
he's just drunk.
Yeah.
Okay. Bigfoot. Has anybody ever captured you on video?
He said yes, Steve, his friend Steve and him made a home video when they were younger, but he doesn't want to talk about that.
Oh, that sounds a little saucy.
And then and then he said Patterson and Giblin shot them too. Shot at him.
So how'd you get from California to Pennsylvania?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those red eyes are rough.
Yeah.
Is that a flight then?
Yeah, he flew here.
Okay, so the portal thing, that's all bullshit?
Yeah, it's not real, he said.
Okay, so Bigfoot are not aliens.
I assume you're not. Yeah, he just said that he lived in Santa Monica for most of his life and then decided to move out east.
Sweet, were you a surfer? Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I get that. Bro. I get that.
What's your favorite song? The platinum hit by Everclear, Santa Monica?
Oh.
Yeah, he's getting really upset.
I understood that one. He likes Wonderful more by Everclear. The Father of Mine? Okay, it was Father of Mine's his favorite Everclear song.
He definitely digs that.
Wow, this is such an honor, Mr. Bigfoot.
Wow. What can we call you? What can we call you? Do you prefer Mr. Bigfoot or Bigfoot or?
Okay.
You just said call him Ed.
Okay.
So,
Ed it is.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let you go, Mr. Bigfoot.
Whoa! I have one more question.
Well, oh, okay.
Was John Lithgow in the best Bigfoot movie?
What?
Jake!
Oh no! Oh,
Jake!
no!
Jake!
God!
You mentioned Harry and the
Help me!
Hendersons!
Help
I was asked to contribute a story to this episode. My name is DB Spitzer. I am the host of The People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos and Black Clock Audio Tales, a daily audiobook podcast about gothic horror, spooky stories, ghost stories, stuff like that. Something that I've been interested in ever since I was a small child because of what I'm about to start talking about. Two instances that are why I don't go camping unless I'm in large groups of people that have firearms or know the woods well or anything. So a little bit of background. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington. My family is avid outdoors people despite everything that's happened. My father grew up in Montana, outside of Lincoln, Montana, and Great Falls, Montana, and knows the woods out there. He was an Eagle Scout. He went into the Navy. He's a real kind of outdoorsy, active guy who also, fairly proficient with firearms, boxing, that kind of stuff. He's a real kind of manly man guy and isn't really kind of afraid of stuff. I saw him once chase a badger off. I mean, he's, that's my dad. So that's a little bit of background on some things before we go in any further. When I think I was about 8 or 9. I wasn't 10 yet, because I was 10 when something else happened. I was 8 or 9, and we were camping outside of Lincoln, Montana, where my near some property my part of my family owned. Doesn't own it anymore, but we talked to the people, and we're allowed to stay on their property for a short period of time. And we were going to explore some copper mines around there. And my dad grew up around this area, and he's like, oh yeah, here's some old copper mines we used to poke around when I was a kid, and we'd get yelled at, so we're going to bring flashlights, and we're going to go around, and we're going to look there, and it's going to be all great and good. we're not going to go down too far. We're not going to crawl down anything. We're just going to go in a little bit. We're going to look around and listen to me. Don't get too far. We didn't bring any ropes. We didn't do anything like that because we had no intent of going down any further. We didn't want to really get too far or lost in a copper mine that's been abandoned for like 50, 60 years or whatever. I don't know the history of Montana. That's not me. So my dad, my older sister, Heather, who's about 3 years older than me, so she's 11, 12. We all go, and my mom takes a photo of us in front of this big old boiler right out in front of camp, and she's like, okay, I'm going back. I'm going to go make lunch. And we're all like, okay. And I had a brother who was about 2 or 3 at the time. So we go to the copper mine and we start poking around and looking at all the old equipment that's still there that was just left too big to haul away, or, broken mining equipment, broken handheld mining equipment, some old picks and stuff that, the handles broke off or the picks broke themselves. And we're like, oh, this is neat. And, we're taking pictures of stuff and asking our dad if we can take like some of the metal back. And he's like, no, leave it here. And then he's like, all right. Then we fire up the gas lantern, like the ones that you pump a whole bunch, the like white gas lanterns. And we start to go into the mine. It's a natural. It's not a natural cave. It's clearly something man-made that goes into a rock face, part of the Rocky Mountains, obviously. And also, just to let people know, if you want to look for this on a map, this is in the Bob Marshall Wilderness in western Montana. Kind of, I want to say north of Lincoln, Montana. Kind of probably about like 4 or 5 miles away from where the Unabomber was found. Just so if anyone wants to get on Wikipedia and look for this stuff. Anyhow, so we're going through this old copper mine, and there's this sound, and we can't figure out what it is. It's like a cat or a baby or something. And my dad's like, oh, it's probably a wounded animal. Let's get out of here. This is, it's raising all of our hackles. It's making us all a little afraid. And then we turn around and we can see something kind of in the darkness over somewhere else where a different sound is coming from, and it's the same sound. It's like it's not coming from one place anymore. It's now like moved quickly over to another part of the mine, and we can see we're not sure if it's a person or not, but they're kind of crouched down, and then whatever it is, it stands up, and it looks like a small old woman without clothes on. And we can't quite see if all of her face is there because she's got hair over it. Not like, combed down the ring, but like kind of off to the sides, like unkept, disheveled, possibly living in a cave. And we just start running. We drop whatever it is that we've picked up, like little bits of mining things and whatever that we're like clacking and making noises with and having fun. No, family fun time is over, and it is time to run. And we run and we run, and we hear this noise, and it just gets louder and louder and louder, and we run. And we get outside the cave, and, it's like kind of like, is everyone here? Yeah. And then we run back to camp, and then we pack up camp, and then we drive up to the cabin that, used to be part of my dad's family. And we ask about that. We're like, what the hell is, and they're like, we have no idea what you're talking about. There's no local legends. You grew up here. There's nothing like, there's no like weird things to like warn children to stay away from the mine. There's no Jenny Green Teeth. There's nothing like that. We go into town and we talk about stuff, and we ask the people at the general store. Yes, there's a general store in Lincoln, Montana. It's by the laundromat. And we ask about if anyone has heard anything, and everyone's like, no, it's not like there's anyone's missing grandma. And it just was this unsolved thing, and it really, really, really scared the hell out of my family. It's very unnerving. We didn't go back to the cabin for like a good 5-10 years, never heard anything from anyone else. I mean, It wasn't some sort of like my mom played a prank on us. My mom's not a short elderly woman. My mom's a tall blonde woman. And it's just, I don't know. And next year, instead of camping in Montana, in August and early September, we camped in Gifford Pinchot National Forest, which is in the foothills of the Cascades, in Washington State. So we go camping. We're going to go huckleberry picking. It's going to be a good, fun time. My dad's going to get some ideas for like hunting in the autumn, and or I don't know much about hunting. So, but my dad wanted to scope some stuff out because he wanted to do some hunting. Anyway, we're picking huckleberries. We're camping. We've just like put Scotch guard. I mean, earlier that day, my dad put Scotch guard on the tent, so we couldn't like hang out in the tent all day and color and stuff, which is what I like to do when I go camping. I don't know about you, not a big outdoors person, especially after the previous summer. So we have to sit out in the camp and engage with other family members, because I think like I had a cousin and an aunt and uncle that also went with us, and we had this really, really, really big, like 12-person tent that we all stayed in, and Scotch guarded it because it's Pacific Northwest. You never know when it's going to rain, even when it's like a hot summer. So we all had to sit out there. It was like the first time I had almond milk, and I thought it was gross. And we went hiking, just normal camping. And then that night, we all laid down. All of us were there. Probably sometime around like 11:30 or so, the adults finally decided to lay back down. Everyone was there. No one unaccounted for. No one met any strangers that day. That's not 100% true, because my cousin and I, we were down by the creek because we weren't allowed to like sit around in the tent all day and color, as I said. And we like saw this like tall, like hairy hippie dude like off in the distance. And I was like seeing someone and not being able to quite see what's going on with them. I got nervous because of last year, and I'm terrified of being in the woods. I'm terrified that Mind Witch is going to come get me again. It's like I've been having nightmares for like 7 months, and it's like finally good to be out in the woods. And there's this like unidentifiable, like tall hippie dude off in the distance. And it's like, my cousin's like, we need to go. That's a bear. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't have glasses yet. So, I'm like, oh, okay. And I recognizes that I need, anyway. So we go back to camp, and my cousin's like, we saw a bear. And I'm like, no, I think it was a homeless person. And my dad's concerned because of last year. So him and my Uncle Joe, they go down the hill and they go look. And they're like, there's no one there. There's nothing there. And they're like, there's an old, cooler. There was an old cooler over there. So maybe someone and they left their cooler, but it looked like it had been there for a while. So don't worry about anything. It was probably just like a small brown bear or something, and they don't hurt anyone, So it's nighttime. Parents crawl into the tent, drunk, high, whatever parents in their late 20s do in the early 80s. Mid-80s. So we've all been asleep for a while, and we hear a around the outside of the tent. And my dad, accidentally wakes us up talking to my mom and my Uncle Joe, being like, hey, there's something outside of the tent. I think it's like a deer or something. And then like everyone's kind of quiet and listening, and it's just one thing. But we kind of realize that it's kind of a big thing. It doesn't push up against the tent. It doesn't do anything, and it moves around the campsite. And it's making all kinds of noises. It's getting into stuff. My dad's like, just be quiet. It'll get bored and go away. It'll eat something and go away. It's not going to attack us, even if it's a bear. If we make a bunch of noise, it'll go away. So it's probably about a good half hour. We're all laying in there, just listening to this thing go through our things and stuff like that. And that's when my Uncle Joe goes, I think that thing's walking around on 2 legs. Listen. And we all listened, and it wasn't like clop, 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 clop. It was like thump, 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 but like how you and me thump. And at this point in time, it dawns on me, it's either something like that Mind Witch, or maybe it's something like a Sasquatch. And I didn't say it out loud. No one said it out loud. I think we're all thinking it. That or bears. And then we all started making noises, like just like shouting and being like, get out of here, get out of here. And, you know, no one wants to leave the tent, but also no one wants to be quiet. I mean, it's like, if this is a bear, we can scare it off. If this is a person, we can scare it off. I don't think we were thinking about what if this is like some sort of deranged woods person who, I don't know. Anyway, so we then like started making all kinds of noise. And then what we heard was this is old growth forest. So you have big, big, big trees. It shimmied up a tree and it made noise. And it moved from tree to tree. It was like it moved from tree to tree, and we could hear it move in the distance. And that's when my dad and my Uncle Joe and my Aunt Mara and my mom, we loaded up the camp in the middle of the night, packed up, and drove back to Portland in with like a short period of time. We didn't go camping out that way again. We found a place in a totally different part of Montana that we decided to start camping at, that my family still camps at. And the only interesting thing that ever happened is we once almost ran over the Unabomber on our way back from the Lincoln Rodeo. All right. Thank you so much for listening to my story. And you can check me out and more of my podcast at pgttcm.com. People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos, Black Clock Audio Tales. Thank you, and happy Halloween.
There's a signal from another world, a wayward transmission adrift between dimensions, a frequency not found on any normal radio dial. I never believed it was possible, until I found the radio on a dirt road in the Pine Barrens. It broadcasts from a reality like our own, but uncanny. Familiar landscapes and places, but through a dream, through a nightmare. You are now part of the Lost Signal Society.
Hello, I'm Bella Nightshade, and welcome to the Witchway Station, broadcasting from a different frequency every 2 hours. Usually, I'm telling you arcane stories and occult facts, but tonight, I have something special for Halloween. I'm taking a page out of the Ratten Konig's book, and I'm going to play you someone else's strange tale. Around the world, there are stories of great hairy beings in the forest. This folklore is mostly associated with the Pacific Northwest of North America, Nepal, and Indonesia. But there are pockets of tales all over. In the state of New Jersey, they call the creature Big Red Eye. But what is this creature? An undiscovered beast? A spirit of the forest? Or something else? It may seem strange that such an animal could exist a few hours' drive west of the bright lights of Broadway, but the weird state of New Jersey often surprises you. This cassette tape was left in one of my secret drop locations. Stay tuned for this week's list of drop locations. But until then, here's Monica. So, it was around 2004, and my older sister Mary was getting married. We'd been doing all sorts of preparations. The venue, the cake, the priest, the dress. The dress was beautiful. Everything was together, and the wedding was on Saturday. Mom had the rosaries on the clothesline so it didn't rain, and I was out in the forest gathering last few ingredients for a little wedding blessing. My plan was to use the leftover candles from the wedding to make a wish bottle. The ingredients were pretty standard. Rosemary for love, basil for protection, sea salt, and lavender would all make their way into the working. I needed 2 more things, though. Wild blueberries for sweetness and white quartz. I knew I could find them in the forest that I played in as a kid. The moon was in auspicious position, as my grandmother would say, so I took off into the Roundpo Valley. It was an overcast morning when I got to the trailhead, and towards the top, towards higher ground, where there'd be less tree cover, that's where I knew I could find the right berries that I needed. Sometimes as I walk, I'll hum or sing to myself, especially on days like that day when there's not another soul on the trail. The threat of rain had kept most people away, but I love a great day, and unless it's a true downpour, there's nothing that a raincoat and a pair of waterproof boots can't handle. I got to the place in the trail that I had marked earlier in the year. A quarter mile east of the trail was an excellent patch. I headed off the trail and towards the thicket. I heard a twig break. Who's there? I looked around. There was nothing obvious. People tend to announce themselves in 1,000 subtle ways. Animals, less so. But I looked around and dismissed the sound as maybe a particularly fat squirrel on an old branch. Bears are a concern in these parts, so I'd have to keep my eyes open for scat. They were fond of blueberries, too. I continued towards my spot when I saw something glint near a small water runoff that was coming off the ridge. Could have even been a small spring. At the edge of the water, there were some white quartz. I stooped to pick up the crystals. Away from my love at the crossroads, under a blanket of night, he wears a coat of black woolen and red leather gloves so bright. I stood slowly and looked around me. It sounded as if something were keeping time. There was little chance a person had come off the trail this way. They'd have to travel straight through the brush to sneak up on me, and there was no way I wouldn't see and hear them. Even an animal, unless it was very small. And mockingbirds don't drum. There were stories, of course, of other creatures. The forest man, impossibly tall, hairy. Most people around here called him Big Red Eye, if they gave name to it at all. For some, he struck terror into their hearts, a monster of the wood. Others say he's a forest spirit, or maybe it was something that had come through the vortex in Wanacue. I listened. Whatever it was, the birds weren't afraid of it, and that seemed good to me. I slipped the stones into my pocket and continued up the ridge into the blueberry patch. When I got there, I began to gather the fruit and became lost in my task. A few hours passed. My project made the time go quickly. Wind blew off some of the cloud cover, and I saw the shadows fall over the stones and chase each other across the forest floor. I had almost forgotten about the strange drumming, as I was using an old stump to transfer some of the berries from a basket to a cotton bag. I was being careful. Wild blueberries are small, but sweet, a little tart, and it had taken me forever to get them, and I didn't want to drop one. The truth is, to this day, I cannot figure out how he snuck up on me. Well, maybe I can. Anyway, I had just about poured all the berries out of the basket when I felt something looking at me. I slowly looked up, and there in the forest was a being. Tall, too tall, 7 feet by the looks of it. It was 30 yards from me. The shape of a man was standing in a small clearing between 2 blueberry bushes. I say the shape because the dark fur that covered the creature's whole body made it look like a walking shadow. It stood still and silent. From under its fur there glittered 2 eyes like rubies. The old name had a grain of truth to it after all. The creature made no motion. It simply looked back into my eyes. The birds continued to sing, and the fur on the creature moved in the breeze. In retrospect, this should have been terrifying. But instead, I didn't feel scared at all. Instead, a feeling of calm washed over me, and I began to sing. And if you're thinking of romance, you best throw yourself in the sea, 'cause my soul belongs at the crossroads, but my heart belongs only to me. Big Red Eye held my gaze. We stood there for what seemed like forever, but it was really just a few moments. Whatever it was, it liked music. I put the berry basket down on the stump, some dark fruit still rolling in the bottom. Those piercing red eyes bore into mine, and it reminded me of the albino rabbit we had in my third-grade classroom. I was afraid to move, more because I know that to do so will be to end the encounter. Time stretched. I couldn't stand there in the forest forever, so I took a step back, and then another. Slowly, the creature began to walk towards me. I was afraid to run. I just continued to move backwards. And when it got to the stump, it grabbed the basket and ran off into the forest. And when it left my sight, I finally turned heel and headed towards the trail. When I got to my car, the sun was much lower than expected. In fact, by the time I reached my car, the sun was setting, but my watch said it was only 3 p.m. And you'd think that'd be the end of the story, but it's not. As I was driving home, the New York skyline spread out before me, wrapped up like a starlet in pink and purple methane haze. Suddenly a light darted across my field of vision and paused in the sky for a moment. The day had been too weird. I pulled to the side of the road for a moment. The streets were almost too quiet. The light hovered in the sky for a moment, 2 moments, and then suddenly zipped off into another direction. Stranger still, a few weeks later, curiosity got the best of me, and I hiked back to that berry patch. At the spot where I went off the trail, hanging from a white birch tree, was my basket. Listen, I don't know what I saw, but it was pretty cool. You know what I mean? What is Big Red Eye? Is he a true undiscovered primate? Is he the spirit of the forest in northern New Jersey? Many sightings include some kind of UFO presence. And although that's not an exclusively tri-state phenomena, it seems to happen more here. It's the top of the hour now, so, as always, the same message. Foggy, the radio isn't just a conduit, it's a doorway. You're listening to The Which Way Station with Bella Nightshade. Stay tuned for my next segment on forest elementals, and see if you can tell some of the crossover between that story and these old tales from the woods. This has been a presentation of Lost Signal Society. Lost Signal Society was created by Michael Dondero and Krista Pollier in Brooklyn, New York. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or anywhere you love to listen to podcasts. Also, follow us on social media. At Lost Signal Society is our Instagram. You can find us on Twitter as @LostSignalSOC, and you can find us on the web at LostSignalSociety.com. Happy Halloween!
Time on deck, 2321 local. I'm moving north towards Lake Champlain through the Missisquoi Wildlife Refuge. There are several stacked rock cairns, probably trail markers along the path here.
Delta 01, what's your position?
Delta 02, about 20 yards from the waterfront. Found some trail markers, probably campers. They lead to what looks like a small cave. I'm going to check it out.
Roger. Let me know when you hit waterside.
Wilco. Looks like someone has been living here, but there's no garbage. Delta 02?
Go ahead, 01.
I found a cave. Looks lived in, but it's strange.
Strange how?
No trash, no food wrappers, plastic refuse, nothing that people normally leave behind.
01, it's Vermont, the land of crunchies and hippies. They do a better job of picking up after themselves than city folks.
Maybe, just seems odd. And there's vegetation set up like bedding.
Okay, so local wildlife then. Move along. Our intel says the boat is crossing the border in less than 5 minutes.
Roger that. Must be a really big animal. Zero 02, I'm at the water's edge. Do we have a bearing on where the boat is coming from?
Stand by, 01. If you're facing north, 000, they should be heading westbound from a 015.
Roger that. I have visual. Yep, they're moving west. 03 POB. It's a black Boston whaler. They have hoods up, so I can't get a clear look at their faces. I've got to keep moving to maintain visual.
Roger. Keep me informed.
Seem to be moving at about 5 to 6 knots. They're not in a rush, apparently.
Any sign of cargo?
Hard to tell. One suspect is on the bow. Looks like they're leaning on something. The lighting sucks. I wish they could have given us NVGs.
Yeah, not up here they won't.
Yeah. Only the best for CGI. Oof! You've got to be.
01? What is... Is that a bear?
No, it's not a bear. Shit! 02, they've picked up speed and are still heading west. Looks like they're headed towards the Route 78 bridge.
Roger that. What happened? Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm good. Stumbled across some animal. I don't know what it was. It knocked me down and the target heard the noise.
No worries. Pursuit boat is standing by, ready to engage. Head back to base and dry off.
Roger that. Huh. So, it was making these rock piles. No one will believe me, but... Smugglers and Sasquatch was written and produced by Mike Gagney of Asylum 94 Productions, featuring the voice talents of Mike Gagney as Delta 01 and Michelle Gagney as Delta 02 and Sasquatch as himself. Sound effects and Foley, courtesy of freesound.org, Adobe Audition, and made in-house by Asylum 94 Productions. And the intro music was the Blue Dot Sessions, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. Visit us on our website at asylum94.com and check out our flagship show, Boston Harbor Horror, which begins the second half of its first season on November 1st. Thank you very much for listening, and as always, happy Halloween.